Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment. If you got something to say about what we have to say, we want you to say it and say it in the comment section down below. It's season 5, and once again, the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by our good friends over at Two Men and a Garden. Two Men in a Garden salsa is my absolute favorite local salsa. It's almost pool party season. Well, it is pool party season, to be honest with you. And it's almost 4th of July. And of course, there's not a single poolside snack that I'd rather reach for than a bag of chips and Two Men in a Garden salsa. It's what I'm bringing to 4th of July this year and really every year. It's perfect. No matter your taste, Two Men in a Garden has you covered. Worried about the store not having the flavor you want? That's where Two Men's $9.99 nationwide flat rate shipping comes in. You can get your favorite flavor delivered right to your door in mass quantities for just $9.99 in shipping. And you know what? It might be sent to you from their new facility in Kirkwood, Pete. Yes, that's right. And you'll hear more about that a little bit later in the show. Two Men in a Garden is made fresh with simple ingredients and a ton of flavor. Visit them online at twomeninthegarden.com to shop your favorite flavors and learn more about their Kitchen Hub STL. Don't forget to follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter for their latest updates. Pete, we kind of worked out our recording schedule pretty well this week. We got our interview out. Devel Roby, amazing guy to talk to, Pete. And then this week we've got an open practice to talk about, and we're recording tomorrow. Our timing is usually awful. This week is like everything came together.
Yeah, it really did, Zach. And moving to Tuesday recording schedule has proved to be quite fortuitous for us. And yeah, we've got a good amount to talk about now that we've had a couple weeks of stories piling up. Got you the interview. Go check out that Roby interview if you haven't yet. It's great. I think you'll really like it. And now we'll have, regular show for you, but a midsummer variety.
Pete, what do you think your favorite part of that interview, that conversation we had with Devel was? I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm sorry.
I have yet to go back and listen to it myself. I do have it in my queue of things to get to, but I would say that it was a lot of the kind of like the Cruz era wind down kind of stuff. Like I think so many people have an opinion of what happened in those couple of years where we lost all the Majerus guys. We had the 2 years that were just the Cruz years on his own. And it was a really obviously horrible couple of seasons, but hearing his perspective, like as a guy on the team who was recruited by that staff, who was actually good enough to play on a team for Majerus or Ford after that, it really was interesting to me. So little pieces of things like like the Brett Jolly stuff, how they were roommates, how Jolly was more or less kicked off the team is something I don't think anybody actually ever realized. So that to me, he really filled in a lot of color in those years that I don't think we had before.
Yeah, I think my favorite part, and my favorite thing about talking with Devel and the way he kind of went about, the recording is he had a little bit of that Cliff Clavin in him. Funny story. He would without you prompting him to really go in about something, like, so he would bring stuff up and we may not have even had it, like Brett Jolly getting kicked off the team. Like, right. We didn't even have that on our radar because I don't think we knew what happened, like you said. But my favorite moment was obviously him addressing the Austin McBroom and Grandy Glaze elephants in the room. And I loved what he did. He could have gone all in and really, gotten into what exactly they're up to. But I loved it. He kind of kept an arm's distance and talked about it without talking about it. It's kind of like that old school, like when people talk about like music back in the day wasn't, it had metaphors and, it was, it was very veiled what they were actually talking about. That's kind of the vibe I enjoyed about it.
So sometimes you say more by saying nothing at all, right?
Yes.
So
I've never heard that advice.
I can attest to that, but he certainly he's not the most active guy on online, on social media, anything like that. He's a little bit old school that way. And so for him to kind of address both of them, he kind of sounded like the old veteran, right? Who just didn't want to he didn't want anything to do with their nonsense, and kind of rolled his eyes and acknowledged the things that they were good at, like what they brought to the team. Like Randy Glaze, for everything that we might like look at as his flaws, he was like would have your back no matter what and under any circumstances, right? Like, and Glaze certainly did have the demeanor of a traditional like enforcer in any sport. And then he said McBroom could really shoot and went out to Eastern Washington and was an all-conference player. So he wouldn't let us just get by with just clowning on those dudes without anything productive. He had to say, like, these are complicated people who have more than one side, and before we just clown on them, like here's what they were all about too. So I think that was in addition to kind of being like, I don't want anything to do with whatever they're up to today, to also say, like, from the perspective of a teammate, here's where they also were kind of valuable.
Yeah, I thought he was really, really great at giving perspective on things. I thought one of my favorite moments, and I thought it was just really, I thought he did really well addressing Travis Ford's tenure.
Yes.
I thought he talked up Travis Ford a lot. He did a lot to go against the narrative of the Travis Ford, kind of the way things ended, how that became the overarching narrative. And he cut into parts of the relationship that were good, Yeah. I thought he did it in a way that, Billiken fans, from how things ended and the way people defended Travis Ford at the end, it always came off cheesy or manufactured or not real, really just, I don't know how else to put it. And I thought DeVell, it was genuine. It real, like, of course it's going to be, he was in the trenches and he saw that, but he's also a guy who sat there and watched Travis Ford get fired and Jim Cruz get fired. And he, that informed his life decisions.
Sure.
Like, he took that experience and said, at the beginning, he said, I see coaches, they come and they go, that's why I want to be in administration. And, he, like you said, he flipped the narrative a little bit on us, on McBroom and on Glaze. And he also did it to Jolly too.
Yeah.
Like, he clowned on Jolly. He actually clowned on Jolly and then was like, oh yeah, I can clown on him because that's my guy.
Yeah, we're good friends. He lives in Vegas with his wife and kids. He's doing great. Yeah, like so we have such caricatures of everyone, right? But backing up to Ford a little bit, Ford at his core is a player's coach, and you kind of always saw that, the wheels came off in those last couple seasons, but he was there for the first couple as one of his players, and definitely saw the promise of those years that ultimately weren't fulfilled. But I don't think he put all of that on Ford's shoulders. I think a lot of things, went wrong. And I think hopefully everybody could see every coach, every player, every era with a bit of nuance and sort of appreciate that. But I mean, Zach, at the end of the day, that's why we have these guys on, right? Is to to give us that perspective, those things that you and I don't know, the things that the people who listen to us don't know. And man, what a fun time it was to catch up.
Yeah, it was awesome. And DeVell, I can't thank you enough. Gonna say that again, because, I appreciate, like, again, I know that we are not the belle of the ball of anyone in the athletic department, and DeVell Roby DeVell Roby talked about he's going into administration, and he's looking for that kind of mentorship and to come on this show. I mean, I appreciate it. Like
Yeah.
that's a decision that, it's a tough decision. You could easily see him be just kind of, not right now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's cool.
appreciate that. But yeah, open practice this week. It was yesterday as you're listening, Tuesday, June 24th at 4 p.m.
Yeah, Zach. So 4 p.m. We're talking about St. Louis time, right? Central time.
Yes. Yes.
Now was that a convenient time for you? Because I know
It's
this
not,
practice is probably something you would have liked to see.
it's not, it's not a convenient time. And I don't think it's a convenient time for a lot of Billiken fans I mean, I know the only video we saw or pictures we saw were of the other side of the arena, the far side from most entrances, but I mean, it didn't look good. And of course you're not gonna get insane attendance to any open practice. But I think I talked about it all day on Twitter. They've done these 4 p.m. practices, these 4:30 p.m. practices every year. It's like I just don't understand it. If you're trying to build a fan base, build a donor base, build attention, build excitement. I just don't see why you wouldn't go a little bit out of your way to cater to all the fans at once. Like I said on Twitter today, it was the old aging donors are not going to be here. Just like in God, for like 60 years, I'm not going to be here. Like, just like so on and so forth down the line. You have to work towards building a base for the future. And that doesn't happen if all you're doing is kind of catering to the older, retired, or older and big dollar donors. I just think there's it's been 11 years since, again, like we said in the intro, like, of course, Travis Ford had some good years, but it's been 11 years since some sustained good feelings in the Billiken basketball program. And you're skipping over 11 years of alumni. And that's, you're looking at early 30s in that 11 years. I mean, those are people that will eventually be the old heads with money that can go to the 4 p.m. practice, but you have to get them in the building and have them fall in love with the team to then eventually give you that money when 1, 2, 3 of those, that general group of people starts making a fuck ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally understand that. I don't want to totally play devil's advocate. I obviously would not have chosen 4 p.m., if I were local either as my number one choice of time. I will say, as a former manager, we tended to practice earlier than that in the afternoon. I don't know, what their summer schedule exactly is, but I do know that the coaches don't like to throw that off too much. You get guys out of their routines, make them a little more susceptible to bad practices or even injuries, things like that, where they're very routine, practice minded, and I think they probably want to be cautious with that sort of thing. So there might be a compromise on that level. I think there's also the fact that you have a night practice. Now you're asking a lot of people to hang around at night when they probably would have been done for the day. I think there's a few different considerations that might go into that time. I don't know whose decision it ultimately is. I get exactly what you're saying, though. Like four is a tough time. I don't know I think 5 is better. I think 6 is probably a little more ideal for this sort of thing.
Yeah, my thing is, I think there's, it always feels like there's an attitude that like Billiken fans should feel appreciative that Billiken basketball's here for them. Like I just feel like there should be more done to bend to or to err on the side of what is better for the fan? What can we do for the fans? How can we make them following Billiken basketball easier?
Right.
How can we get more parents to bring their kids to watch the game or watch this practice so that they, whatever they do, they buy merchandise, right? Everything is an advertisement for what you're selling. Regardless of whether that open practice is an advertisement for the merchandise you're selling up at the shop. So good feelings from the event, more people to the event, more people buy your shit. And I think that a program that's had as many attendance issues in the last couple years and going back to 15, 16, 17, I just feel like they should be catering to or trying their best to attract that younger alumni base that they've not really been able to capture because they haven't been good.
Yeah, I think you and I are in full agreement on that point. Like it's, I saw you say this somewhere else. It's one thing if it's like, hey, we're going to be having some open practices. This is the only time we could do it this month because of just constraints around the schedule. We're going to have more of these coming up. Don't worry, but it is sort of a pattern, as you called it before, where it just feels like they are neglecting certain segments of the fan base. And that part is a shame because I do think you're right. They do risk a lost generation when you're only worried about the people who are currently funding your program right now and not planting those seeds for the future. I think other departments do a lot better job of that. That being said, I do think it's cool that they did this at all, even if it was on short notice at 4 p.m. on a what is it, a Tuesday? I would imagine it won't be the last one before the season starts, and we will get some more of these. But as always, you just hope for a little bit more, Zach, right?
Yeah, I just, like I said, I think it's slew for the Lou. They do this every year. It's slew for the Lou, your town. Like, we're St. Louis's team. They tried to do it with Ford. They're trying to do it again. You can't just say you're for the Lou. You have to, like, if you're for the Lou, you're for the community, and you have to prove you're for the community by making sure the I don't want to say the poors, because I'm the poors. Like, you got to make sure that everybody who would generally be, you got to make sure that the majority of people can attend something, that they're able to if they want to, right? And again, like games, I'm not talking about ticket prices. We can get into that. That's a whole other thing. I'm talking about if you put on a free event that's for the public and you're slew for the Lou and you're for the community of St. Louis, you've got to make sure that, like, the community can attend in mass if they want to. That's my point. And it bothers me that kind of they don't generally.
I will. Before we move on, I want to make one more point. They had players calling season ticket holders to invite them to this.
They did.
And I think that is awesome. And
that is great. That is fantastic.
Big kudos for that. I think that's really cool. So I didn't want to let this go without saying that much. There are always pieces of things that are a step in the right direction. I really love that. So keep that up. Hopefully they can do some more of these that are at more convenient hours for other people.
Yes. Let's talk about the open practice, the actual thing that happened, and not belabor the point any further. Talk about Stu. Stu put out a couple tweets, and then we can talk about Billikens.com reactions as well.
Yeah, so Stu just had a couple points. He said the blue team, which had McCautry, Anya, Dunlap, Sharma, Brown, Hudson, Warlick, and Diakite won 60-58. Now, the interesting thing, Earl put up some highlights, some like video clips, one of each player afterwards, and it looked like Diakite was on the other team. So I wonder if they did a couple switches in the middle of this thing. Just something that I noticed. He also said there were five double-digit scorers. Leading the way was Quentin Jones with 15. Avila had 12, as did Dunlap and Brown. And then Paul Otieno had 10. So those were the five guys who finished in double digits, according to Stu. I know Timberman was in the house, Rockio, a couple others as well. So at least some local media saw this thing too, Zach.
Yeah, I think you're burying the lead here. There was a lot of talk about Kellen Thames.
Yeah, and looking healthy, right? I mean,
Yes.
Earl posted a dunk of him that it wasn't spectacular, but it was quick, it was smooth. He's got some burst. He did a little tomahawk on it. And yeah, everybody I think is saying, like we saw on Discord, the last comment on there right now as we record, what's the last Billiken team that a healthy Kellen Thames wouldn't have started on? Said Bills by 40. I think people are high on what they're seeing there. Billiken Mike, if Thames is healthy, there's no doubt he's starting. So I think it's a bull market on Kellen right now, Zach.
Another player who people were kind of excited about is Quentin Jones.
Well, Quentin Jones, we already said
Oh,
led all scorers with 15. No, that's always said, Zach. But everybody else seems to think like he's the real deal. West Pine Bills seem to have a mole in there somewhere who was saying who was saying he was really good, right?
yeah. People were talking up Brady Dunlap. Brady, don't call me Reggie Dunlap. For his shit talking behavior. Speaking of Slapshot, maybe he is the grandson of Reggie Dunlap with his shit talking ability.
Somebody said he could be Jimerson if Jimerson also chirped at everybody. I got to go find that comment. But Rockio said Dunlap only sees green on the wing, and he just hit his third 3+1 to be the first Billiken in double figures on the day with 10. He just went to turn around above the elbow for a 2, and then he had some all caps shit to talk. Rockio on Jones said Jones is a lab made 2 guard who showed out with at least 3 steals and blocks, in addition to his scoring lead, getting there with 2 made 3-pointers and another 3-point play. So 2 newcomers, Zach, that are both pretty exciting. I know he's not the only one who thought both of those guys stood out for sure.
To quote the quote from Billiken Beef on Discord for Dunlap is "Shut yo bitch ass up." So
is that what they like the mouth reading said?
I think everybody heard it.
Okay. I mean, in a
I mean,
crowd like
buddy,
that, I'm sure.
buddy, if everybody heard me at the COVID Dayton game, everybody heard Brady Dunlap say "Shut your bitch ass up" today.
Brady Dunlap can do that all he wants if he's going to score double figures every day. Billiken Beef added, I'm looking for real estate on Dion Brown Island, which is something a lot of people had been saying about Trey Green so far. So I thought that was interesting. STL Buff Bills, as we
Yeah.
know, a fan of 2 different sets of Bills. Not there, but my coworker is, and he says Jones looks like a man among boys out there.
I really hope that we just didn't dox STL Buff Bills to his coworker.
To his coworker. I mean, is his
Yeah,
coworker listening to this?
I hope not. Now,
West Pine Bills was the one who I was thinking of earlier, Zach. Got a DM that said Brady Dunlap is Gibson Jimerson
yeah,
if
I
he
think
was also
shit.
an elite shit talker. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that
don't. Trey Green was getting some comparisons to Kwame Mitchell, but it didn't seem like he had the best day. He turned it over quite a bit, according to a couple people on Billikens.com and in the Discord as well.
Yeah, he did. He said so. Slew sign guy. Steve said he's playing point guard. Offense is a little rough. But then he added Green hit a nice pull-up 3 and then had a drive and dish for another 3. So, yeah, I think the turnovers were problematic. And it is kind of interesting that the team with him and Robbie and some of the other supposed starters lost to the other team. They were on the gray team or the white team, whatever it was, lost to the blue team, which, McCautry, Anya, Dunlap, Sharma, Brown, Hudson, Warlick, Diakite. a lot of those are rotation guys, but maybe not starters. So, if I were just looking at the two teams, I would have thought the other one would win. So, yeah, clearly Avila and Green maybe didn't have their best performance for their side of this thing.
I need to know how the defense was, though.
Was there some all-star game level defense, or did they get after it?
Yeah, I look. I mean, I think we always come away from these with nothing but good feelings. It's really hard to tell when they're playing each other what we have, but
Sure.
I think the fact that the scrimmage was played even uh, seems reasonable. Seems it's. I don't know what that actually said. Is that like the 50? Everybody in the SEC is 50 or 500. Is that what that means? Is that just like that?
Exactly. Yeah. The SEC overall has an aggregate 500 record this season. It just shows you
Yeah.
how hard. I just think it says that we have a lot more depth. To be honest, I do. If I recall, last year the scrimmage was a little more lopsided. It was a little more clearly starters and reserves, a little more lopsided. So, bit different. I think you got to mix the teams up. If you want that to be even. But here, I think you can go a little bit deeper on both sides and have a pretty even match. We haven't talked about Sharma much yet. Aaron on Billikens.com. He's not at all afraid to shoot. He said of Sharma, shot selection may be something to keep an eye on with him in real games. Steve added that he hit another deep three. So, he was out there letting it fly. You like to see that. Um, Aaron added that fans are going to really like Brady Dunlap, at least on offense. And he added that Kalu Anya was embracing a leadership role even when on the bench. But Zach, I think the main question there is Kalu Anya. What do you think about him wearing pants in the scrimmage? I thought that was a bold
Ah,
choice when it's
I just
140 degrees.
I don't understand it, man. It was the are we talking about me and pants again? Are we doing this again?
I'm
Are
I'm
you
trying.
are you
I'm
are you
trying to.
fishing?
I don't know if I'm trying to bait you for that or just bait you in general, but I'm just seeing if I can get something to happen here.
Hook, line, and sinker. No, I don't. I don't know how anybody wears pants after like June 1st.
Yeah, yeah, for
And
real.
I don't. But him and Swope did that last year. They started. I don't. Swope was doing it, I think, because he had to keep his legs warm. Because he was with the knee.
Yeah.
But
McCautry, I saw had pants at the end of the thing as well. I don't know if he put them on just at the end or if he actually played in them. I haven't seen another clip of him yet. But yeah, I think
these
you're
kids
right.
today,
With
man.
Swope, it was more like don't let your muscles get tight kind of thing.
These kids today, man. They got no respect.
Wearing pants in a scrimmage, how
We
dare
went
they?
from we went from we went from shorts in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then we went to the baggy shorts in the 90s, and then we went back to the shortish shorts
Hmm.
in the 20s, and now we're at pants.
We're back at yeah. It's
We're in
it's
pants.
everything is cyclical. I got to give a minute to the Wiz here. On
Nobody
Billikens.com.
beats the Wiz.
He says, here is my take. We're bigger, more aggressive, more physical, faster, more athletic, rough around the edges. They have only practiced a couple weeks, but looking good at this point. Best additions, Otieno and Dunlop. Nice looking shot. He said, Sharma, healthy player. Thames played a lot of minutes with no problems that he could see. Best freshman in a while, Kerr and Lachkowski. Thin, big guys who are athletic and can shoot. Brown knows what he's doing, has a good floor sense, and can shoot it. Most improved from last year, he says Anya and McCautry, both more aggressive and playing more defense. Avila lost weight and is in better shape. He can still shoot and pass. Jones is a big difference maker who can do it all. Green, best Kwame Mitchell impersonator, as you said earlier, has that potential. Bottom line, this is a better team than last year and should win more games. Check back with me the first week in November. So pretty good summary there.
All right then. I didn't realize Nobody Beats the Wiz is actually like a store.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, up in
Yeah,
New
I
York.
learned
Yeah.
that a couple weeks ago.
What did you think that
Uh,
was?
I don't know. I just thought it was something people said.
Oh, you never saw like the Wiz advertisements in like Yankee or
No.
Rangers games or
I
anything?
I had seen the Wiz. Like I just saw the Wiz, but I could never read the or
Yeah.
never. This was before HD TV, man. What are you doing?
I mean, that's when I would have watched more baseball playoff games,
You would have
hockey playoff
been,
games.
yeah, you would have been older than me too.
They
Um,
apparently ceased operations in 2003, so I really am
yeah,
dating myself with that.
yeah, pre HD TV, like I said.
You're exactly right.
Uh, let's talk about a Billiken alumni. We got to give a congrats to Billiken great and Dwayne Wade Kryptonite haver Josh Fisher. He won an NBA title with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Currently an amateur scout for the team over in Europe. Congrats to Josh.
One of my favorite all-time Billikens, one of the unsung heroes of Billiken past. I think he is one of our best defensive guards of all time. Period. Full stop. And had a long, successful career over in Spain that he has now turned into other basketball related things. So yeah, congrats to him. He is a really great guy. Nobody more deserving than Josh, and really excited to see him win that title. It could be an odd trivia question, Zach, if you word it just right about the most recent Billiken to win an NBA championship ring.
Yes, yes. There you
We'll
go.
definitely be able to fool somebody with that someday. But congrats to Fish nonetheless. That's really cool.
A couple of other alumni. Isaiah Swope, we talked about him a little bit. I wonder if he wore pants for this. He had a workout for the LA Clippers on Wednesday, June 11th. And then he had one for the Utah Jazz on the 21st.
Yeah, he did, Zach, and it got me to wondering like how many of these guys do work out for NBA teams, how many players each team sees, stuff like that. Because we had TJ Hargrove go work out for the Denver Nuggets on Wednesday the 18th as well, and then rumor had it he was in the gym today for that scrimmage, along with Yuri Collins, and I want to say there were some other former players in there as well. So yeah, pretty cool. He's back in town. I think his brother just graduated high school, so hopefully his workout didn't interfere with that, and he got
Good
to spend some
Lord.
time with his family,
I can't believe that. That's crazy.
isn't it?
His brother graduated high school.
Time flies, man. It seemed like they
My
were so
goodness.
far apart in age, like
Yeah.
whenever you'd see those two, but yeah, there we are.
I wonder. I wanted. I do want to know how these like workouts work. Are they just? They're like they. Is it kind of like they bring in like six guys that they want to see or five guys that they want to see, and then they're like, all right, now we need a bunch of other guys to fill out the scrimmage.
I don't know at all. It's one of those things like it prompted these questions, and then I'm like, I'll look it up when I've got more time. Like if I'm taking 5 minutes scrolling Twitter at work, that's not the moment that I'm going to go look up how NBA, workouts with, random players go. But I do need to look into that because I am super curious now.
We have a rule change, Pete, that we are going to see this season. And no, it is not NCAA tournament expansion.
Not yet, anyway. But yeah, we've got a few rule changes. The most notable one is a coach's challenge, Zach. They can now challenge at any point during a game. They must have a timeout available, and if they're successful, the team gets another challenge available to use in the remainder of the game, including overtime. If it's unsuccessful, they don't get any more. They burned it. Officials can initiate video reviews on basket interference or goaltending and restricted arc plays in the last 2 minutes of the game and into overtime, but they cannot conduct video review on out of bounds calls unless through a coach's challenge. So that could get interesting if coaches don't have challenges, gets down to the last 2 minutes. I think what they're trying to do here, well, I know what they're trying to do is prevent all the late game delays. They're just gonna let those calls go now unless coaches challenge it on the out of bounds stuff, because those out of bounds calls always got reviewed no matter what, no matter how obvious they were. The continuous motion rule has also been changed so that an offensive player who ends his dribble going toward the basket and absorbs contact from the defense will now be permitted to pivot or complete the step the player is on and finish the field goal attempt, no longer quote unquote in the act of shooting. So
So
this is
Well, I want to go back and get your take. I want to jump back to the coaches challenge.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. How do you feel about this rule change? What's your take?
I think it's probably more positive than negative. I think, coaches probably feel angry, frustrated, helpless at times. Giving them one of these gives them a little bit of feeling of at least being able to kind of say their piece. I do know, I mean, look, there are going to be some out of bounds calls in the last 2 minutes of games that are now going to get lost. But I think on the whole, that's probably better than having every game last 2 hours and 20 minutes and bleed into, let's say Slew's game on USA while we're waiting for George Mason and St. Joe's to finish their second overtime or whatever. Those are the kind of things that, drive you nuts. So I think on the whole, that's probably better. I don't know if you agree with that one though, or not.
Yeah, I do. I am curious about the coaches challenge. So they must have a timeout available. If successful, team gets another challenge available to use the remainder of the game. Can they just keep being successful in challenges the entire game?
No, I think they only get one additional challenge,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
so you're capped at two. So
Okay.
no, like you can't just keep challenging calls that you saw, and that you're going to be right on. So it's just the two.
The second rule that you had mentioned that before I had made you go backwards, the continuation. This is essentially what the NBA is doing.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just them sort of adapting to what the NBA is doing, quite frankly. I don't think there's much more to it than that. I think they're just kind of acknowledging this is kind of how the game has evolved, and a lot of old guys like me will kind of look at things and it'll never look right to them, and everything will look like traveling. But if that's just what it is, I guess I'm fine with it. If there's an actual foul there.
Dick shots will be a flagrant one.
Well said, Zach. Could not have
Thank
said it
you.
any better. So on a flagrant one on a hit to the groin, there will now be 2 free throws plus a possession.
So a
I
dick
think
shot?
that's a good one. We can't let Brady Dunlap be out there, doing any below the belt hits on anybody.
No, I'm
So
just
I
saying.
think
I'm just saying all his shit talking. He's gonna be the one to get hit in the groin.
that's right. Yeah, and he needs to be rewarded for that if that's what
Yeah,
if that's what he draws.
rewarded for that. That's weird. That's a weird way
I
to put
mean,
it. That's a weird
reward.
way to take a nut tap. That's a weird way to phrase that.
I guess so. I got nothing.
Okay, I got this next one. I'm not sure I understand. I've got loopholes that I think I've found in this rule.
Okay.
If a player uses the rim to gain an advantage, it will be called basket interference. I'm just gonna say that an up and like that a reverse layup is using the basket to gain an advantage.
I think they're saying rim specifically though, right?
But I mean, you're using the rim. If you drive down the left side and the guy's following you tries to block it, you go on the other side of the rim and lay it in. You just use the rim to gain an advantage.
So I read of like 3 articles about this, and none of them really elaborated on this one because they were so much more interested in the other rule changes, right? Like this was like the 5th of 6, and they just weren't that interested in it. I took
Maybe
it
my
as
think piece should be the 4th.
yes. Let's go with this more obscure rule. I was thinking like, well, we've seen instances where guys, like miss a dunk and then keep their hand on the rim and try and put it back in, and that's always like a
That's always been
technical.
called already.
But yeah, right. And then I was thinking, well, what about? Are they talking about just defense, where it's like, if you're a defender and you're kind of like trying to block a shot or something like that, and you're kind of using the rim as leverage somehow? I don't really know exactly what they're trying to cut down on with this.
I use the rim to gain an advantage. Is it an offensive advantage? Is it a defensive advantage? I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm not quite sure what the Yeah, this is like, so it's in all these articles. Panel approves changes to enhance the flow of the game in men's basketball. But yeah, like this from NCAA. What I have written is exactly what they have in here. That's it. There's nothing more that they have to say about this rule change.
Advantage. Yeah, at first I was like, now I went kind of deep into thought, and I'm like, advantage, like a jump ball, and I was like, no, that's not what that means. That's not what that means.
Hmm.
I don't understand it. I would like to see them um, stop letting the game run on a basket interference goaltending.
Oh, yeah, and then you like wipe the points at the next time out or add the points the
Yes,
next time out. Yeah,
stop the fucking game.
right. I that one's weird to me. It is weird because
It,
you come
it's
back and like the score is different.
that just can't have you can't do that. Like I just don't. I just think that's I I I don't know. It's like playing the game under false pretenses,
Right.
which sounds way more
A little dramatic.
grandiose than it. Yeah, more dramatic than it needs to be. But
Yeah.
like, it's kind of.
Yeah, I can't find, as we've been talking, I can't find anything else elaborating on that one. We're just gonna have to kind of come back to it, I think, when the season actually starts and we see what that means. But yeah, it just sounds to me like they're just getting stricter, right, on the rim used
Yeah.
for anything but dunking.
Any refs in the chat, you know,
Hit us up, let us know.
yeah. This one's weird and I don't like it. This is what they call the Houston rule, the Fertitta Center
Yeah, we did
rule.
experience this directly. If one shot clock becomes inoperable, the other one will remain on. Previously, both would be turned off. And this one, you don't like it because
Why?
one team's
I
at a
don't
clear
get it.
disadvantage.
Yeah. I mean, you could. I mean, are we opening ourselves up to conspiracy theories? Like this literally just opens up a whole can of worms for if the shot clock for the road team goes off.
Yeah. I've seen some genuine chicanery on the scoreboard shot clock table before. Like genuine, like that I think like the in-house dude was like cheating. And I say this in all honesty because I saw it in a Butler Xavier game 15 years ago. And I will go back and review the tape with anyone who's interested. But so I can say that as a somewhat neutral observer on that one. But I do think you're right, Zach. Like it is one of those things where if you're on the road and your shot clock goes out and they've got it at the other end, I mean, that seems really frustrating to me. Like that would drive me insane. So I know it's worse to just because we've had situations before, right, where the refs are just using stopwatches and kind
Yeah.
of calling it out verbally. That's not great either, but at least both teams are playing on equal footing.
Yeah. And I think that's all you ask for.
Right.
It's kind of the idea of this whole
I don't
thing.
yeah, I don't like that one at first blush.
Kind of the idea of sport. That's the beauty of
Exactly.
sport. That
That's right.
let's talk about the schedule. A10 opponents have been announced. Home and home. It'll be Dayton, Duquesne, LaSalle, Loyola, and VCU. What do you think of those five?
I think West Pine Bills was guessing the five that it would be and got four of them. And I disagreed with them and got four of them. And I think it was the same four. We kind of guessed Dayton, Duquesne, Loyola, and VCU. LaSalle is the one that was a little bit of a surprise. Last year we had St. Joe's as a home and home. And we kind of wondered if it might be one of the other teams perceived as like a top third team in the league. And LaSalle certainly, even with all their transfers and a new coach, I don't think anyone's going to put them in the top third heading into this season. So that one's a little bit of a surprise, but that also prompts the question, Zach, whether you want the easiest conference schedule possible or the hardest conference schedule possible. And I think the answer to that is going to, for me, always be based on what happens in the non-conference.
Oh.
So, as for the home and homes themselves, Dayton, Duquesne, Loyola, VCU, I would take those four absolutely every year. I think the fifth is probably open to some debate, but especially Dayton and Loyola at this point for us, I think are like non-negotiable. Duquesne, me personally, I would always take as a home and home because it is still one of the westernmost markets in the A10, and selfishly for me, it's one of the closest as well. So I like the home and homes. Are these ones that you're on board with?
I mean, I really wanted to see the new arena at LaSalle. I wanted to try to get up there this time around. Who
Yeah, so we
knows?
get a chance.
Yeah. So that's cool. So I do. I mean, that it makes sense. Duquesne, Dayton, Loyola are the closest three. I mean, I guess Pittsburgh is technically the Midwest, according to some idiots. Um,
Not me.
uh, yeah, VCU obviously, they're a top team. I mean, GW would have been nice, but I do like that we got them as a home only
Mhm.
this year. But again, and like I said, the home only GW, Fordham, Richmond, and St. Joe's will all be coming to Chaffetz without a return trip. What do you think of these?
These are, GW is a place that I went last season. We had a abysmal first half, almost caught all the way up, and then kind of lost it at the end. That was just not a great game. It's when I realized Rafael Castro's an all-conference player and great. But look, GW should be a lot better this season, so I didn't necessarily want to go there only again, right? So I'll take that one at home. Fordham, never a scary place to play. We whooped them up last year there, so. Um, that's fine. I do want to get to Rose Hill someday, but can't do it all at the moment, especially with young kids. Richmond, I always like having on the road. Gives me one more shot to see my brother. And then St. Joe's at home. I like that one. So yeah, this is fine by me.
I like that we got uh, our home onlys include two teams that are supposed to be highly regarded this season.
Yeah, and also two teams that could very well be among the worst, right? I
Yeah.
think Richmond might be the last place. If I'm picking today, Richmond is my last place team in the A10. Fordham, I don't think will be as bad as they were last year, with the new coach, with a couple guys who I've said already on the show who can really score. So I think they'll be better, but I don't think they're going to be a top half team. So those are absolutely games where you can't slip up.
On the away, you've got Davidson, George Mason, Rhode Island, and St. Bonaventure. Again, it kind of mirrors the home in that you've got two teams in George Mason, and then I mean, I guess, I mean, take your pick between the tougher team, Rhode Island or Bonaventure, but Davidson's not going to be great this season. And I mean, again, we don't know if, again, people are saying that Sean Miller has some dudes this year,
Yeah.
but we've kind of been saying that for 4 years now.
Yeah, Archie
And
Miller. Yeah.
of course, Bonaventure has the Woj factor.
Bonaventure is always a notoriously difficult road trip. There's just no easy way to get there. You're playing there and call it January. It's a lot. It's difficult. That's always a tough road game. And I've been saying it. You hate when I say it. They have some really interesting players this year. I think they could be, if Schmidt can get them to play together, if he's willing to play a bench, they could actually be really good. Rhode Island, I don't see it. I think this is kind of Archie's last stand, and I just don't think he has enough. George Mason should be pretty good, but I don't think they're going to be as good or better than they were last season. So I don't know, that's a very winnable game. And then Davidson, we stole one last year. Absolutely stole that game. And Belk is an arena that we never won in until the last few seasons, and now we've won twice. So if they're going to be around the same as they were last year, I feel like maybe this year we don't have to steal it. Maybe we can actually play a first half where we score points and win one there. So none of these games exactly scare me as road games, but It
They're
does
road
remind you.
games in the
They're road
A10.
games, and they're yeah. These are Rhode Island is geographically the farthest place away from us, right? You know, Davidson, like I said, we had never won until very recently. Bonaventure being a hard road trip. They're just not games where you can get comfortable and relax at any point. So, got to play your best game at all those places.
We have news regarding the schedule, courtesy of Stu Durando and Rocco Miller, no relation. SLU will be in a pod with Iowa, Ole Miss, and Utah at the Acrisure Series, or so it seems. They're waiting on 2 contracts for home games to be finalized, along with the announcement of 1 home game, part of the Acrisure Series. Attempts to get a neutral game against a power conference team did not work out. Read Iowa.
Yeah.
And let's see, a verbal agreement for a home and home with a Big East team fell apart within 24 hours. Jack Bauer couldn't save that.
I would love to know which Big East team that was, by the way. I would just love to know.
If anybody knows and would like to hit our DMs on Twitter, we are known for our confidentiality.
We are.
Yeah, we do keep things to ourselves. They're trying to get a home and home. They're trying to get home and home arrangement started, re-upping with a team like Memphis or St. Mary's. On Pete, run us down the recruiting updates. We have 227s, 128, and then a guard that did not pick the Billikens.
Yeah, a few new offers, Zach. In the 2027 class, we've got Tyron Frazier. I got to figure out how he pronounces his first name, but he's a 6'10 wing forward from Hazelwood East, Brad Beal Elite. So he's a local kid, long, lean, athletic, versatile. He's a little bit raw, developing really quickly, though. He's got a ton of upside. He can step out and shoot it a little bit. He handles it well, guards multiple positions, good footwork. He's a dangerous end-to-end player, really likes transition, thrives in transition. He played at the Nike Elite 100 in the Simon Rec Center last week, which I love. Other offers, surprisingly, Zach, he's only got 3, but Texas A&M is one of them. Wichita State, Louisiana. Really intriguing player. Clearly, there's an SEC school who sees it already in him. The ceiling is very high if he can kind of put things together.
Who's the first person you think of when you think of Texas A&M? Who's the first player? AC Law.
AC Law, interesting. Not Alex Caruso, huh?
AC Law, I remember when he kicked our keister a number of years ago.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Another offer from the 2027 class is a 6'1 point guard named Tyson Pogge. He's from Southmoore High School, not Southmoore High School in Oklahoma.
Do you ever know people that say it like that?
It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. And I've noticed in Cincinnati, there's another one I hear a lot. People say across, like with a t at the end. Across. Do you hear that much?
Never in my life.
Across. I can't tell you how many people
I
encounter in Cincinnati who say across, and I'm like, it's not an uncommon word. Have you ever seen it in print before? Like, where's that? Is it ED?
Is it ED?
What do you see there? Anyway, he is from Southmoore High School.
We're alienating a ton of listeners.
People are shutting it off right now. If you want me to get pedantic on language, I can get off on that.
Your syntax is incredible.
So, which is in Moore, Oklahoma. So I guess there's a Northmore too, or maybe they made that one word. But he plays on an absolutely loaded MoCan Elite U16 team with Scotty Atkinson, Malachi Jordan. That's going to be a team that you would expect to win the Peach Jam, if not come very close to it. Smart point guard. I really like him. Really fast in the open court. Good pull-up game, efficient shooter on all levels, solid distributor, really good ball handler. He gets a lot done out of the pick and roll. His dad was actually a quarterback at Oklahoma State around the time I went to college, actually. So they showed interest early, but SLU appears to be the first to actually offer. He himself did play football. He was a quarterback, but recently gave it up to focus on basketball.
You know who else was a smart point guard from Oklahoma State?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've had quite a few come through our program and on Ford's staff, right?
Marcus Smart. God damn it!
Well, he was more of a shooting guard. Was he
God
a,
damn, no, if
I
it's
don't
a
know if I'd
point
call
guard.
him a
He's a
point
point
guard.
guard. If Google says he's a point guard, he's a point guard. All
I thought you were
right.
going to talk about Phil, but okay.
Unbelievable. God, stay with me.
All right,
All right.
2028. One offer. Stay with me, Zach. One offer in
All
the
right.
2028 class. Jada Washington is a 6-foot point guard from Sidwell Friends School in Washington, D.C. Plays for Team Takeover AAU on the EYBL. They won it a few years ago. Lightning quick, pure point guard. He's an elite ball handler and passer. Great vision and instincts. He's an absolutely relentless defender. Forces a ton of turnovers. Comes up with a lot of steals himself. He for like a whole AAU season averaged about 6 steals. I mean, just a really, really tough defender. Creative getting to the rim because he's got a small frame, but manages to still score and draw fouls that way. SLU is his first offer, but he's got a lot of interest mounting. This is the kind of kid who's going to be one of those A10 point guards who's around for like 4 years. At least historically, it would have been that kind of player, undersized A10 point guard, scores a ton, distributes a ton. Maybe in this day and age, he only lasts a couple seasons in the A10 before he plays at Maryland or something like that. But I really like this kid. He's got fan favorite written all over him, and maybe if he grows a little bit in the next couple of years, he'll be a major conference player anyway.
Close the loop on BJ Ranson.
Yeah, he's a guy this staff offered, I want to say earlier in their tenure after showing up at SLU, but he's a guard from Baltimore. He just committed to St. Joe's on Wednesday the 18th. His dad is a longtime D1 assistant and just took a job on Billy Lang's staff last month. So pretty natural that he ends up where his dad took a job. I don't know if they were a package deal or not, but his dad's a good guy to have on staff anyway. So it's not like they were, it's not like he was not like some AAU assistant or something like that who got a D1 assistant job.
You ever been to Balmer?
I have. That's a cool town.
Yeah. I took a 13-hour bus ride to Balmer.
You did a 13-hour.
Mm-hmm. Whatever the bus ride is. I don't know. Whatever the drive is, I did it in a bus.
Wow.
Yeah. It was terrible. Stu Durando caught up with not outgoing. Well, I think he's outgoing. I've heard he's outgoing.
He's outgoing.
Exiting St. Louis University president Fred Pestello. I don't know if you had any thoughts. I think the only thing that I think he said a lot of words, and he didn't really say much. It was very a lot of generalities, a lot of just kind of, we're doing this and we're doing that, and we hope for the best, and we work hard, and we're very close knit. And he did mention that him and May worked pretty closely, which I'm shocked to hear that. The one thing that caught my eye was, again, they talked about the question was, the speculation with Travis Ford was that the buyout was so large that it could hurt the department. Was that situation more problematic? Pestello says, I'm not going to talk specifics of that separation, but you're always weighing with any coach all of the consequences, including financial. We obviously came to the conclusion to separate there. Here's what I found interesting. Well, not interesting. Here's the point I want to talk about. I liked Travis a lot as a person. I think he elevated the program and had good success, but ultimately we decided to separate. I wish this would stop, this idea that he elevated the program. You can elevate, like, he may have elevated the program year 1, year 2, year 3. Like, there was elevation in the program, but he never got it past where it had been.
Yeah.
And it ended in almost worse place than I would say that we ended up in a worse place than at the end of the Cruz era based on the buyout.
Yeah, I mean, certainly not just in terms of on-court performance. I mean, the end of the Cruz era, we were essentially like, we might as well be in the Southland or Big South or NEC or one of the micro conferences, like the very low end conferences, in terms of what our metrics looked like and what we were doing in terms of wins and losses. Now, in terms of Yeah, I mean, look, everybody seemed to like Travis, who was like
Yeah.
in
Oh,
the administration of either the
oh
athletic department or
I
the
should
school.
have said I took issue with only the last sentence. I
Yeah,
I have no.
elevated the program is certainly debatable at best. I mean, he made one tournament. He won one A10 tournament. I don't think he ever won the league outright. I think second was the best we did on his watch. Yeah, I don't think you can say he elevated the program just a few years removed from that 3 year period from Majerus to Cruz. It's
It'd be
certainly
wild if Pestello wasn't aware of that run.
he didn't come anywhere close to where that team was in terms of their rankings, their ratings, their on-court performance, their performance in March, anything like that. So to say he elevated it, I think is just being generous, right?
Yeah. Was there anything in that interview you thought about or you kind of wanted to? I mean, your opinion on Pestello's tenure. I know you know that I am not his biggest fan,
Mhm.
but I'm curious your take on what he's brought to the athletic department, if anything.
Yeah, so I think I'm just sort of neutral on him overall. Like I think there are like it seems like people have to either love him or hate him, or maybe that's our job as sports fans. Like we have to have a binary opinion on everybody. And I think yes, certainly he's the president and the buck stops there and all that kind of stuff, but he's enough removed from the day-to-day operations of a basketball program to where it's like I look at him and it's like, well, he was never in the way of success, but I don't think he like did everything in his power to make them successful either. So there's a lot of criticisms that people have had of him over the years that I think are just irrational fan takes looking to put their anger and frustration on somebody. And I think there are other people who are just maybe they had a positive interaction with him and they're going to defend him no matter what. And I just kind of think neutral, right? I was there for
Inoffensive.
Sure. I was there for the Biondi era or part of it, a chunk of it. And I will say he did absolutely, as far as I could tell, as someone who was in the athletic department, in the gym every single day, working for that team, that program, I saw absolutely nothing that he did to help athletics. So when I saw like the more recent era where between facilities and what they're spending on coaches and all of that kind of stuff, like it's night and day from where we were, and not just because college athletics have evolved in that time frame, but in relation to our peers as well, which is funny to think about because we were always in much more powerful prestigious conferences in those days. We were just behaving like a lower division program despite the fact that we were playing Memphis and Louisville and Cincinnati and teams like that day in and day out. So I went from a place of thinking like we were just shameful in terms of the support that we got from the institution to actually having some degree of support. So that began, I guess you could say, on Beyondi's watch, but I don't think it was because of him. I think it's because donors stepped up with money and kind of forced his hand on things like coaching changes, on things like arenas and stuff like that. So Biondi was obviously involved in some of that, but man, oh man, did he do nothing to elevate the program when I was there. I think Pestello just seemed like kind of a more outwardly friendly guy. You say inoffensive. I really am just kind of neutral on him. I don't see enough to say this guy, to use his own words. I don't know that he elevated the program, but at the same time, he was not an impediment either. So, look, it was fine. He dealt with a lot of hard external situations that he didn't bring on himself when he was there. Whether he could have done better or worse, I'm not going to make a judgment on that. Things like COVID and Ferguson and all of the really difficult things that happened in and around campus when he was there. I just don't, I would not want to be a university president. I don't know why anyone would want that job in this day and age. It seems like a pretty cushy gig until about the last 10, 15 years or so. But yeah, man, oh man, would I not want that job now? And some of the other positive things that happened slew over that period, I think, have to be acknowledged as well. So On the whole, as a university president, I think I'm more positive than negative on him. Athletically, I'm really just kind of neutral. And I looked at this article, and you're right. He didn't say anything like too eye-opening. I just think for me, it was just kind of a prompt to kind of look back and say, well, we're switching university presidents. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to athletics moving forward with somebody who's just a different guy, different background.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see. I think it's kind of the more recent stuff with enrollment, and
Yes,
is tough, and it's a tough way to leave.
big challenges ahead. Big challenges ahead.
It's tough way to leave. Let's talk about some good things that are happening right now, and it's with Two Men in a Garden.
Yeah, Zach, we teased this earlier, but Two Men in a Garden, our friends, are expanding to Kirkwood with a new 16,000 square foot facility for their Kitchen Hub project. The press release says Kitchen Hub, cultivating unique STL food brands, is the innovative shared kitchen commissary and food business incubator created by Two Men in a Garden. Proud to announce their expansion with the signing of a 6-year lease on a 16,000 square foot facility in Kirkwood. It'll be the second location for Kitchen Hub, which currently operates out of a 7,000 square foot building in High Ridge, Missouri. Quote, "We have over 80 members in our current facility, and we are busting at the seams," says Karen Beckman, VP of Operations. "We currently house 12 separate kitchens and have no more room to grow. Members are all from all over the greater St. Louis area. Adding a central location in a vibrant city like Kirkwood will be a big boost for the membership." So this new facility, Zach, will feature more spacious, fully customized private kitchens with unlimited use options, offering food entrepreneurs the flexibility they need to grow. Kitchen Hub operates as a shared kitchen commissary, but it's also a launch pad for food-focused startups. So it supports a dynamic mix of food trucks, caterers, private chefs, small-scale manufacturers, and other culinary creatives, as they say, combining access to a certified kitchen space with hands-on mentorship if they want it. Zach, this is really exciting for our friends over at Two Men in a Garden. This is like really, I don't know. This is a big development for them. And to me, selfishly, it means if I can go on their website and now find more partners, more products, the boxes that I order here to Cincinnati are going to get a lot more exciting.
Yeah, exciting stuff happening for our friends at Two Men in a Garden, and it's great. It's great to have more resources for entrepreneurs here in St. Louis. Big things for the city. They give back.
It's exciting for us because we've been partnered with them for a long time, and to see them succeeding in an economy it's challenging for small business operators right now, especially in the food space. And they're growing, they're thriving, and we couldn't be more proud of them. But also, like, go to twomeninagarden.com, try their stuff, look at their Kitchen Hub partners. You'll see why.
Yeah, I'm not going to say our ads contributed to their growth as a brand and a company, but hello,
you can't prove that it didn't.
It's true. Women's basketball. Pete, I'll let you introduce the newest member of the coaching staff.
Frozina Jarrow. Am I saying that right, Zach?
That's why I gave you the name.
She's a long-time assistant coach in the D1 ranks. She's a new assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at SLU, held the same title at Wisconsin this past season. Before that, she spent 6 years at Cleveland State. After 7 years at UIC, she started her coaching career at Houston before going to Cal State Northridge, NJIT, the New Jersey Institute of Technology, and UNLV. She was an all-conference player at Arizona State and led the Sun Devils to an NCAA tournament appearance. She's got a really good track record, Zach, when you look at the arcs of the teams where she coached over those years. She took some kind of low mid-major teams to the tournament as an assistant. She's thought to be a good recruiter and player developer. So this to me seems like a really, really good hire for Tillett.
Pete, the A10 opponents have been announced. The pairings, the home and home pairings. You have Davidson, Dayton, Duquesne, Fordham, and Loyola. home and home. Home only will be Richmond, St. Joe's, Bonaventure, and VCU. And then away only will be George Mason, GW, LaSalle, and Rhode Island. And Pete, I got to say, this is a tough schedule, especially the away games.
Those are some tough away games. As for the home and homes, like on the men's side, having Dayton, Duquesne, and Loyola, I would pencil in every year. I like those three. Fordham and Davidson are usually pretty tough. I think Davidson, as far as I remember, I think they're getting some nice transfers and like a lot of players coming back. I think they're supposed to be really good again. Home only, Richmond won the league last year. They were excellent. So you're glad not to go there. But having to go to Rhode Island, who was GW was good, or no, they weren't good last year. I'm getting mixed up who the other St. Joe's may have been the other.
Mason, Rhode Island.
You're right. Mason was good, not GW. Mason was good. So between Rhody and Mason, those are some really tough road games. But St. Joe's is another one that I'm glad to have at home. So you hope this is balanced enough. Hopefully, like they always kind of wind up with a weird schedule in terms of having all of their easier games earlier or having all of their easier games later. It seems like maybe if we can have a more balanced schedule this year, the order I think would maybe be helpful, but I guess you can't necessarily control that. You can only win the games they give you. But I don't know, Zach. Yeah, I think it's probably tougher than not this year.
Yeah, I agree. Talk about some new offers out, and then we'll get into some weird ass rule changes.
Yeah. So three offers. I like all three of them. I think they signal absolutely the right thing because they're all Richard Fitzgerald's the first one, 2028, player out of Incarnate Word, which I'd love to recruit that program. Obviously the gold standard for girls ball. She's with the elite AAU. Earl called her one of the most talented young players in the state. She's already 6'1". She also has an offer from Arkansas at this point. Jemiah Herring Green is a 2028 shooting guard from Hazelwood West, also FIA Elite AAU. She averaged 24.5 points a game last season for West as a very young player. She's the daughter of Sonia Doherty, a former two-time All-Metro player at Hancock High School. And then the third offer was Dalen Douglas, a 2029 point guard from John Burroughs and Missouri Phenom AAU. SLU is her first offer, but certainly won't be the last. Like I said, 2029, so she's definitely very young. But again, Zach, three is all the St. Louis players. If that's the long-term recruiting strategy for this program to really start reaping some rewards of those long-term high school recruiting, local relationships, it feels like something this program has never really done successfully. And if they can do that, then I think they deserve some more time to do what they're going to do.
Let's get into these rule changes. We talked about the video review challenge on the men's side. I feel like women are just being used as like test rabbits. Like this is where we're at. Like we went for feminism and we landed on this, where they just get to be the crash test dummies for all these whatever whims the NCAA decides.
It's kind of like minor league baseball, though, right? Like, we don't know about a pitch clock, so let's try it down in AA. We don't know about starting a runner on second in the 10th inning, so let's try it down in AAA. But yeah, coaches now have a video review challenge for the following plays at any point of the game: out of bounds, backcourt violations, whether a foul was assessed to the correct player, and whether a change in possession occurred before a foul where free throws are involved. Refs cannot initiate reviews on these calls except whether a foul was given to the right player.
Yeah.
What do we think? So there's some minor differences from the men's challenge rules, Zach, but I don't know. You like this one better?
I think it's an interesting. The interesting part is that teams don't need a timeout to challenge, but a failed challenge results in a technical foul.
I kind of like that.
It's a technical foul.
I kind of like that, and it certainly gives some stakes to the gotta get it right. Like you have to be sure if you're going to challenge a call.
Yeah. Some other rule changes. This one we saw I feel like we saw this on the men's side. We
Yeah.
saw an issue where the dead ball, the offense gets the ball in the front court.
Hmm.
The shot clock resets to 20 seconds. I feel like, wasn't it 15 or they didn't reset the shot clock at all?
No, I think it's
10?
20. It makes sense because you're taking 10, you're taking
Right. All
the
right.
back court is the 10-second rule, right? So you're
But that's
getting
dumb.
rid of the back
That's
court.
dumb. But you got the ball in the front court, so you deserve the advantage of having the entire. It's stupid. Stupid. Sorry. Sorry, Pete. I don't mean
I
to
don't mind
insult
it.
you.
I don't mind it.
Okay. Well, you're wrong.
What about this one, Zach? I think you're going to have.
I
strong
think this
opinions
is
on one, too.
bizarre.
Eliminating the rule that jerseys need to be tucked in
What has happened to the game I love?
is nothing sacred. This is one.
Next, we're going to be wearing pants during the game.
Well, I don't really understand this one. It's sort of like I don't think there's an advantage to wearing your jersey untucked unless you're just trying to like draw ticky-tack fouls. I don't know. I don't really get this one.
I think that, well, if you tucking in avoids players' arms getting caught up in your jersey, right? That's the idea.
Right. So I think it kind of makes it easier on everyone if your jersey's not, loose. This is something I thought about men's basketball, by the way, back when I was in the baggy era, when I was a manager.
Back when the ref had to tell Reggie Bryant to tuck in his jersey, or Marky Perry.
The guys would do a crossover and the ball just disappears for a couple seconds. I mean, it's just like there's so much fabric hanging down.
Do we need to go in? Hold on. Is this like the NHL goalie thing where they wear white pads because you can't tell where they are? Are players going to go back to baggy shorts because they can hide the ball?
Exactly. Well, my point is just that it's I think it cuts down on potential tic-tackery, chicanery, that kind of stuff. If your jersey's actually kind of, tucked in and a reasonable length and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm not going to get too fired up about it, but I could see it being annoying.
Using excessive timeouts or playing with 6 players when the ball becomes live will become team technical fouls.
Mm-hmm.
These violations will count towards team fouls, and the team will be awarded possession at half court following the free throws. Excessive timeouts.
Is that calling a timeout when you don't have one? I think it's one of those things.
Oh, okay. I got it now.
I think it needed to be clarified because you have other rules that can impact your foul count. Yeah, right. So I think they're just adding some clarification there. And then playing with 6 players, I think that previously would have been assessed on the last player to check in. Yeah. So they're calling that a team now rather than a personal technical.
The reading playing with 6 players informs us on what excessive timeouts is trying to say. It's the same family of foul. It's an administrative foul, if you want to call it that.
Exactly.
Allowing players to complete a jump stop when their feet land approximately at the same time. This will be a legal move and will not be considered a travel. Okay.
The NCAA Women's Basketball Rules Committee thinks this change can increase the accuracy in traveling rulings. Sure. Yeah. I don't know. Again, this is not one that I get super activated about, but I want to see how players start trying to fudge this one a little bit.
This next one, I can't see how this will be miscalled at all. Can you?
Allowing defenders multiple one-hand parenthetical hot stove touches on stationary players holding the ball or on a dribbler.
That doesn't even sound right.
These touches would be legal as long as they are not repetitive and do not affect the rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness of the dribbler or reroute the offensive player. So
you're talking about a
little more handsiness on the court.
I just don't. There's so many. There's so many things that are like not physical things like rhythm. Like what the fuck? How do you define this? Like these are
Yeah.
words that don't really have. They're not. It's not clear cut when you're
Yeah.
making rules. Rules should be definitive. This is why you come up people. This is why there's all these rules that people think are stupid because one person one time did a thing, and so they had to create this convoluted rule, or they had to create a rule to cover all of it. These things have so many like interpretations. You're just adding more room for the refs to fuck shit up.
A little more ambiguity. I definitely, I think that's true. This is one of those that does add more. Yeah, you're right. It adds more of a judgment call to the ref rather than sort of something that's, well defined. I will see how this evolves. I mean, there's a chance
Sports with judges are not sports.
there's the chance that the net effect is fewer fouls and a cleaner or shorter game, but like I don't know. That's probably the optimistic take there.
Yeah. If a player competes in a game, that player should have missed due to suspension. The player and the head coach will both have to serve 1 game suspension for the next scheduled game. I see no issue.
That one to me screams there was a notable case in the past season that got missed and should have been taken care of, and somebody complained. But I don't know what that is.
Have you heard about the Billiken Women's Basketball Book Club? Not to be confused with the Turner classic movie Wine Club.
I have, Zach. So the team is apparently now doing a book club, and their first selection was Uncommon Favor by Dawn Staley, who actually saw their post about it and retweeted it saying, "Thank you all. Y'all look good reading Uncommon Favor. Please do let me know the parts that are relatable to you and your life journey. I truly appreciate you using my book." Headline news, but Dawn Staley is a superstar in the women's basketball game as a coach, and to have her shouting out SLU is pretty cool. So I don't know. I kind of liked it. A little nice story at the end of the newscast, on a summer pod, I say.
We're going to do the Midtown Madness Fast and the Furious Club, where we just watch a new Fast and the Furious every month and then we discuss it.
If that's what this podcast just evolves into, I'm on board. I won't go.
I still haven't watched Fast X yet. I can't bring myself to do it. I know we went through a time where you were watching them all for the first time in a row, and it was a beautiful moment in our friendship.
It's funny now because now that was probably a year or two ago that I was going through all of that, and I now
you said going through all of that like it was some sort of traumatic experience.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I did mostly enjoy them. I can tell you, Too Fast, Too Furious is the worst by far.
And by worst, you mean genuinely bad movie. The Room. It is the Room of the Fast and the Furious franchise. 3 is by far my favorite.
It's really,
and I think the best.
3 is it's certainly interesting. I don't know if I would call it the best, but it is. It's definitely. It dug them out of what they did with 2. And then by, 5 or so, they are now all of a sudden like
in space.
Like unbeatable, like they're absolutely unkillable superheroes. Mm-hmm. And it makes no sense for a franchise that started with a crew of street racers who were stealing combination TV DVD players. That was
wearing mesh sleeveless shirts.
That was the stakes of the first Fast and Furious movie, which at the time I turned my nose up at, and I think I was right. I mean, I was just kind of like, this seems like a douchey movie for douchey people, and it is, but I can watch it 25 years later.
You're telling me that Michelle Rodriguez, with a whale tail, wearing hip huggers and platform boots, does not do it for you?
I didn't say anything along those lines. I said it was a douchey movie for douchey people in the
Okay.
year it came out, and I'm absolutely right on that. But the franchise has obviously evolved into something completely different. And yeah, Zach, I think that's just what our podcast is now. It's a big announcement for everybody.
Yeah, and I think it relates to baseball, obviously, because
It
Hank
does.
Gomrick used one of the songs from Tokyo Drift, Fast and the Furious 3, as his walk-up music. So really what we're getting into is we're going to talk baseball. And we're going to start with the piece that Stu Durando did on Hendrickson and kind of the update with baseball and how and what's going on. And I thought it was there was I read a lot between the lines here, Pete.
Oh man,
There
Hendrickson is
were,
always eminently quotable. It's a great piece. You guys really got to read it. Subscribe to Stu on Slew if you haven't. But Zach, he says we're all going to get swallowed up. How is Slew going to be able to keep up, and what's their plan? Having 11.7 scholarships is not going to be normal anymore.
that's a quote. I
It's heavy.
there's things to read in there. Hey, he says there, like what's their plan?
Yeah,
That
I know.
that's verbiage.
So
Um,
the House versus NCAA settlement established a 34 player roster limit, and it really won't impact Slew and Hendrickson because he's usually around that number,
mhm.
largely because it's hard to spread 11.7 scholarships any further than he already does. So he believes that's about where Slew is going to stay, Zach.
Yeah, he said it's always been hard at SLU. It's been fun and hard, and now it's really hard every single day. But I was born to be a coach. I love it, and I've given my life to it, and it's been rewarding as hell. I'm a purist. I like baseball the way it used to be, but you change or do something else. Um, I think that you will find more coaches that you think that have gone from absolutely loving their job and their career to struggling to wrap their head around everything new that they have to do. And I totally get it. I hate the portal.
Yeah.
I mean, NIL is what it is. I don't like it the way it is, but I think there's a world where it works. It's not the way it's going on now. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to pretend I have it, but a lot to take away from that Hendrickson interview. I think that dude is, we are incredibly lucky to have a head coach for the baseball team that's been willing to stick around. Um,
There's a I don't love the transfer portal era either, Zach. It's not as fun for fans when every time you start to get connected to a player, they run off, or you're only maybe you really start to like a player who comes in late and you only get them for 1 year. Like Isaiah
yeah,
Swope, how many kids would love that dude forever if they had seen him play for 4 years? So there's just a lot of that both ways that I think we're either going to have to find a way to get used to, or it's going to evolve into something we don't know yet. But the interesting thing for me as a coach of a sport like baseball, where you've got a big roster limit and a small scholarship limit that's literally a third of that roster, um, there's a lot of creativity and resourcefulness and other things like that it takes to be a coach in one of these sports, especially when you're not at a Texas or a Alabama or even a Mizzou or something like that, where you have a lot more resources. So I wonder in some weird way if these guys are all winding up with and women are all winding up with way more job security than they'd ever have otherwise, because they are always going to be able to look at circumstances beyond their control and having to scrap and get creative and inventive for every bit of success that they have, right? I mean, like, I wonder if they're all going to get a lot longer leash than they otherwise would, just because every athletic director can look at what's happening beyond their control and go, you're actually doing a pretty good job, all things considered.
yeah. But and on the flip side, I don't like that the athletic director can look at the coach and be like, okay, that's what you get. You have infinite job security, but I'm not giving you shit.
Yeah, and I still have a lot more to learn with it, but I do wonder at a school like SLU that doesn't have football, but still has, a salary cap of a program that am I right here? Football isn't taken out for like theoretically a non-football school now has more money to spend on other sports, right?
I guess.
All right. I need to be sure I know what I'm talking about before I go into
Yeah,
that.
I never know what I'm
A lot
talking
of
right
that is
now on
it's
this.
it's more recent developments, and I have not been able to devote the time that I want to it.
Yeah. No.
But I do wonder if there's a world in which schools like SLU can actually be more competitive in these worlds. But anyway, I think there's a lot of moving parts here, and I'm curious to see how that evolves. I'm not saying having that job security is in conditions that are worse is necessarily better
No.
for Hendrickson or any of these people. I'm just saying it in a weird way. I wonder if we do see coaches being able to hang around in their jobs longer than they otherwise would have.
Yeah, I think players in these smaller sports and the guys that aren't necessarily going to go pro or make the MLB or not surefire shots at the MLB. I think that um, they can benefit greatly from staying at a school and getting to know the area, getting to know the alumni, uh, you know, making those connections on the
Yeah,
business end. And again, long-term career decisions.
right.
It does help. Let's talk about some roster turnover here. Ethan Sitzman, Owen Kelly, Carter Kelsey, and Christian Ponel, Justin Lee, Patrick Mendiola, and Jacob Hornschmeyer have all entered the portal to leave. Owen Kelly's heading to Ole Miss. Carter Kelsey's heading to George Mason. That sucks. Incoming transfers, Matthew Arnold, catcher from Maryville. He hit 325 this season. So we're going to see more. Hopefully more players coming in and going out, but that's kind of what we've got so far. Thank you all so much for listening. That's going to do it for this episode of the Midtown Madness Podcast. Pete, as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.